Take a gentle breath. Money is not something you chase. It is something you allow. When your inner world feels safe, supported, and worthy, money responds naturally, without struggle, without force. Today, you will hear one simple sentence. You do not need to repeat it endlessly. You do not need to beg the universe. You only need to accept its truth once and let your body relax into it. Because when your energy shifts from need to knowing, abundance finds you effortlessly. Money responds to your sense of safety far more than it responds to effort, intelligence, or even desire. When you feel unsafe inside, emotionally, mentally, or energetically, money mirrors that state by feeling distant, inconsistent, or difficult to hold. This is not punishment, it is reflection. Life always reflects the relationship you have with yourself. When the body is tense, when the mind is worried, when the heart is bracing for loss, the nervous system sends out a silent message. It is not safe to receive. Money, like all forms of energy, responds to that signal. It does not flow easily into a system that believes something bad will happen once it arrives. If you expect stress, responsibility, guilt, or fear to come with money, your subconscious will quietly keep it away to protect you. Many people believe they have a money problem, when in truth they have a safety problem. Somewhere inside, there is a belief that having more will bring pressure, conflict, loss, or judgment. Perhaps you learned that money creates arguments, attracts envy, or leads to abandonment. Perhaps you saw others suffer once they had more. The mind remembers and the body listens, so it chooses familiarity over abundance. Even when abundance is desired, safety is the foundation of receiving. Before anything can stay in your life, money, love, success, you must feel safe having it. Not excited, not desperate, safe. Safety is calm. Safety is neutrality. Safety is the quiet knowing that you can handle what comes and that you are supported no matter what. When you begin to feel safe with money, you stop gripping it. You stop fearing its loss. You stop watching it anxiously. And in that relaxed state, money finally has room to enter and expand. Just as a clenched fist cannot receive, a tense nervous system cannot sustain abundance. This is why forcing positive thinking often fails. Repeating affirmations while your body is tight sends mixed signals. The words say, I have, but the body says, I'm scared. The body always speaks louder. That is why true change begins with gentleness, not pressure. With compassion, not control. Safety grows when you speak to yourself kindly. When you stop criticizing your past financial mistakes. When you forgive yourself for what you didn't know before. Shame is one of the greatest blockers of abundance. It tells the subconscious, I am not trustworthy with more. Love says, I am learning and I am allowed to grow. As you build inner safety, you notice a subtle shift. Money stops feeling heavy. It stops feeling like a test. It starts feeling like a neutral, supportive tool. Opportunities appear without strain. Solutions come without panic. You are no longer trying to pull money toward you. You are allowing it to meet you. Feeling safe does not mean doing nothing. It means acting from trust instead of fear. It means making decisions without urgency. It means believing that life is not waiting to take from you, but looking for ways to give to you. When that belief settles into your body, your external world adjusts naturally. The universe does not respond to force. It responds to alignment. And alignment begins when your system relaxes into the truth that you are supported. The moment you stop proving, chasing, and defending, you become available to receive. You do not need to convince money to come. You only need to stop convincing yourself that it is dangerous. When your inner world feels safe, your outer world reflects that safety back to you in tangible ways. Income stabilizes, flow improves, and receiving becomes normal instead of rare. Let yourself breathe. Let yourself soften. Let yourself believe, even for a moment, that it is safe for you to have more. In that moment, something shifts, and money, responding faithfully to your inner state, begins to move toward you with ease. You were never meant to struggle for abundance. Struggle was never the design, even though it may have been the lesson you were taught. Somewhere along the way, effort became confused with worth, and hardship became confused with virtue. Many people learn that if something does not hurt, it must not be real, and if it comes easily, it must not be deserved. Yet life does not reward suffering. Life responds to alignment. Abundance is not a prize you earn by exhausting yourself. It is a natural response to harmony within. When you are in balance with yourself, with your needs, and with your values, life flows. When you are at war with yourself, life reflects that tension back as obstacles, delays, and constant effort. This is not punishment, it is guidance. Struggle often comes from the belief that you must prove yourself to receive. Prove your value, prove your goodness, prove your right to exist comfortably. But abundance does not ask for proof. It asks for permission. Permission to enter a life that believes it is allowed to be supported. From an early age, many people are conditioned to believe that ease is irresponsible and rest is laziness. They learn to push past their limits, ignore their inner signals, and measure their worth by productivity. Over time, the nervous system adapts to stress and begins to associate tension with safety. Calm feels unfamiliar. Ease feels suspicious. So even when opportunities for abundance appear, they are unconsciously rejected because they do not match the inner state. This is why some people work endlessly yet feel they are always behind, while others seem to receive effortlessly. The difference is not character or intelligence. It is relationship. One is in a relationship with struggle, the other with trust. One believes life must be fought. The other believes life is responsive. Abundance flows best where there is openness. A clenched mind cannot receive. A hardened heart cannot allow. When you expect difficulty, you brace for it. And in bracing, you close yourself off from the very support that is trying to reach you. Ease is not something you force. It is something you allow by releasing resistance. Letting go of struggle does not mean giving up ambition or responsibility. It means releasing the belief that pain is required for progress. You can be dedicated without being depleted. You can be focused without being harsh. You can grow without suffering. Nature itself shows this. A tree does not strain to grow. It simply responds to nourishment. When you begin to choose gentleness with yourself, something profound shifts. Your decisions become clearer. Your actions become more effective. You stop reacting and start responding. Life meets you at that frequency. Opportunities align, timing improves. The same effort produces greater results because it is no longer fueled by fear. Struggle is often a habit, not a necessity. It feels familiar because it has been practiced for years. But familiarity is not truth. You are allowed to question the belief that says you must exhaust yourself to deserve abundance. You are allowed to choose a new way. Abundance is not attracted to force. It is attracted to clarity, self-respect, and trust. When you respect your energy, life respects your time. When you honor your needs, life responds with support. When you stop punishing yourself, life stops reflecting punishment back to you. There is nothing noble about suffering unnecessarily. You do not become more worthy by making things harder. You become more available by making things gentler. The universe is not impressed by how much you endure. It responds to how deeply you allow. You were never meant to struggle for abundance. You were meant to grow into it naturally, the way you grow into confidence or peace, through understanding, self-acceptance, and trust. When you release the belief that abundance must be chased, it stops running. When you stop fighting life, life starts working with you. It is safe to let things be easier. It is safe to receive without guilt. It is safe to believe that life can support you without struggle. And the moment you accept that truth, abundance begins to meet you where you are, not because you suffered enough, but because you finally allowed it. Worthiness is the real currency, even though the world often teaches otherwise. Money, success, love, and opportunity do not respond to how hard you try to earn them. They respond to how worthy you believe you are of receiving them. What you accept in your life is never random. It is always connected to the value you place on yourself. Many people unconsciously believe they must become someone else before they are allowed to receive more. More money, more respect, more ease. They think worthiness is something to be achieved in the future, after enough effort, sacrifice, or self-improvement. But worthiness is not a destination. It is a starting point. When you postpone your sense of worth, you postpone everything that flows from it. The subconscious mind operates on agreements. If you have agreed, even quietly, that you are not enough, life will reflect that agreement back to you in subtle ways. Opportunities feel limited. Support feels inconsistent. Receiving feels uncomfortable. Not because life is withholding, but because you are not available to accept what contradicts your self-image. Worthiness does not come from perfection. It does not come from productivity, approval, or comparison. It comes from self-recognition. The moment you acknowledge your inherent value, something relaxes inside. You stop trying to earn your place in the world. You begin to take it. When you do not feel worthy, you overgive, overwork, and over-explain. You try to compensate for a perceived lack by doing more. But this behavior often leads to exhaustion and resentment, reinforcing the belief that life is demanding and unfair. In contrast, when you feel worthy, you act from balance. You give because you want to, not because you fear loss. And life responds to that balance with reciprocity. Money follows worthiness because money amplifies self-beliefs. If you believe you deserve struggle, money will arrive with stress attached. If you believe you deserve ease, money arrives with support. The amount is less important than the emotional pattern attached to it. That pattern is set by your sense of deserving. Many people are afraid of worthiness because it feels like arrogance or irresponsibility. But true worthiness is quiet. It does not need to be announced or defended. It simply exists as a calm inner knowing. It says, I am allowed to have good things without apology. When you accept your worth, you stop tolerating what diminishes you. You make cleaner choices. You say no without guilt. You receive compliments without deflecting them. These small shifts signal to life that you are ready for more. Not because you are superior, but because you are aligned. Self-worth also affects how long abundance stays. People who do not feel worthy often receive briefly and then lose. They self-sabotage, overspend, or create chaos because stability feels unfamiliar. Worthiness creates the inner environment where abundance can settle and grow. This is why affirmations only work when they are felt. Saying, I am worthy, while internally arguing with it creates resistance. But gently exploring the idea, allowing it to soften into your body, begins to rewire your responses. Worthiness grows through patience, not pressure. You do not need to fix yourself to be worthy. The belief that you are broken is the very thing blocking what you desire. Healing does not make you worthy. It reminds you that you always were. The more compassion you offer yourself, the easier it becomes to receive from life without tension. When worthiness becomes your inner currency, you stop measuring yourself against others. You stop chasing validation. You stop asking for permission to exist fully. And in that freedom, life opens. Everything you desire is already moving toward you at the level you believe you deserve. When you raise your sense of worth, you raise the ceiling of what you allow, not through force, but through acceptance. You are not here to earn your right to abundance. You are here to recognize it. Worthiness is the real currency, and the moment you accept that truth, life begins to pay you back in ways that feel natural, supportive, and deeply affirming. One sentence can shift your entire energy, even though the mind may doubt how something so simple could create such a change. Yet words are not just sounds. They are carriers of meaning, belief, and emotional memory. When spoken with acceptance, a sentence can move through the mind and settle into the body, where real transformation begins. Your energy is shaped less by what happens to you and more by the story you tell yourself about what happens. That story is made of sentences you repeat internally every day, often without awareness. This is hard. I'm always behind. Nothing works out for me. These statements may feel harmless, but they become instructions to the nervous system. Over time, the body responds as if they are true. When the body believes a thought, it adjusts posture, breath, and perception to match it. Shoulders tense, breathing shortens, focus narrows. In that state, life appears limited because you are experiencing it through a contracted lens. Change the sentence, and the lens begins to open. A single sentence, when aligned with truth and compassion, interrupts old patterns. It creates a pause. In that pause, the nervous system receives new information. Safety replaces urgency. Possibility replaces resistance. This is why a sentence does not need to be repeated aggressively. It needs to be received. Many people try to force positive thinking, repeating words they do not believe, hoping repetition will override doubt. But energy does not respond to force. It responds to congruence. A sentence works when it feels believable enough to relax into. Even slight relief is enough to begin a shift. The most powerful sentences are not dramatic. They are gentle. They do not demand change, they allow it. Statements like, "I am safe right now," or "it is okay for things to improve," speak directly to the part of you that has been bracing for disappointment. When that part feels acknowledged, it softens. Once the body softens, perception changes. You notice opportunities you were too tense to see before. You respond instead of react. Your energy becomes inviting rather than defensive, and life responds accordingly. A sentence can also release emotional weight that has been carried for years. Many people live with an unspoken belief that they must stay vigilant to survive. One compassionate sentence can challenge that belief. When the body hears a new truth consistently enough to trust it, it lets go of old tension. That release is felt as lightness, clarity. Energy shifts do not always look dramatic. Sometimes they appear as quiet confidence, patience, or ease. These states are highly magnetic. They signal to life that you are open and available, not desperate, not forcing, simply present. The subconscious mind listens for certainty, not volume. A softly spoken sentence accepted once can be more powerful than thousands of repetitions spoken with doubt. Acceptance is the key. When you agree with a sentence, even partially, it becomes an inner instruction. This is why words spoken in moments of sincerity carry such weight. They bypass the analytical mind and go straight to the core. That is where habits are formed and patterns are stored. Change the instruction, and the pattern begins to reorganize. Over time, the sentence you accept becomes the lens through which you experience reality. It influences decisions, reactions, and expectations. It shapes how you interpret events and how you treat yourself. And because life mirrors inner states, your external experiences begin to align with your inner dialogue. You do not need the perfect words. You need words that feel kind, grounding, and possible. A sentence that offers permission instead of pressure, safety instead of demand, truth instead of performance. When you choose your words with care, you choose your energy with intention. And when your energy shifts, life responds naturally. Not because you forced it, but because you changed the signal you were sending. One sentence can shift your entire energy because it changes the agreement you have with yourself. And when that agreement changes, everything built upon it begins to move in a new direction, gently and powerfully at the same time. Speak it once, then let go. This is the part most people overlook. They believe that repetition creates power, but in truth, attachment dissolves it. When you speak something from a place of trust and then release it, you signal confidence. And confidence is deeply magnetic. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means releasing the need to control how. And when things happen, control is rooted in fear, while letting go is rooted in faith. When you hold on too tightly, you communicate doubt. When you release, you communicate knowing. Life responds more easily to knowing than to need. Many people repeat affirmations over and over because they are waiting to feel convinced. But conviction does not come from repetition alone. It comes from agreement. When you truly agree with a statement, you do not need to say it again. You rest in it. You live from it. That rest is the signal that creation responds to. The act of letting go tells the subconscious that the work is done. It closes the loop. Without letting go, the mind stays in a state of anticipation, constantly checking for results. That checking creates tension, and tension keeps the nervous system in a state of lack. You are no longer receiving, you are monitoring. When you speak something once with sincerity and then move on with your life, you shift from wanting to allowing. Allowing is quiet. It is not dramatic. It does not demand signs or timelines. It trusts that what has been set in motion will unfold naturally. Letting go also protects your energy. Constantly revisiting a desire drains vitality and reinforces the idea that something is missing. When you release it, your energy returns to the present moment. And the present moment is where clarity, intuition, and opportunity exist. Think of planting a seed. You place it in the soil, water it, and then you step back. You do not dig it up every day to check if it is growing. Doing so would disrupt the process. In the same way, speaking an intention once and letting go allows it to take root without interference. The universe responds to completeness. When something feels unfinished, energy remains scattered. Letting go creates closure. It signals that you trust the process enough to stop interfering. That trust is the doorway through which results enter. Many people confuse letting go with indifference, but they are not the same. Letting go is active trust. It is the decision to believe that life is working with you, even when you cannot see evidence yet. Indifference is avoidance. Letting go is presence without attachment. When you let go, you also release the pressure you place on yourself. You stop measuring your worth by outcomes. You stop blaming yourself if things take time. You return to a state of self-acceptance, which is where alignment naturally occurs. This state of ease allows intuitive action to arise, without mental noise. You notice subtle impulses. You say yes to the right things. You move at the right time. These actions feel natural, not forced, and they often lead to outcomes you could not have planned. Letting go invites surprise. When you stop dictating the form, life is free to deliver in unexpected ways, sometimes better ways, often easier ways. Your only job is to remain open, not to manage the details. Speaking it once and letting go is an act of self-respect. It says, I trust myself enough not to obsess. It says, I trust life enough to support me. That combination creates a powerful internal shift. The moment you let go, you step out of resistance. You are no longer pushing against the current. You are allowing yourself to be carried. And in that allowing, what you desire begins to move toward you without struggle. Speak it once. Mean it. Feel the relief of completion. Then return to living. That is where the real alignment happens. And that is where life meets you with ease. The sentence that opens the flow is not powerful because of the words themselves, but because of what happens inside you when you accept them. Flow begins the moment resistance ends. And resistance ends when the mind and body receive a message they no longer need to argue with. That is why the right sentence feels like relief instead of effort. Most people think they need to feel excitement to manifest change, but excitement often carries tension. Flow responds to calm certainty. It responds to the soft internal yes that follows a statement that feels true enough to rest in. When a sentence creates relaxation instead of urgency, it opens the door. The body is always listening. It responds immediately to language. A sentence can signal danger or safety, lack or support, pressure or permission. When you speak words that imply struggle, the body prepares for defense. When you speak words that imply ease, the body softens. That softening is flow. The right sentence does not try to convince. It does not argue. It does not demand belief. It simply offers a new perspective and allows you to step into it at your own pace. The subconscious accepts what feels gentle far more easily than what feels forced. Many people block their own flow by choosing sentences that are too far from their current state. When the mind senses exaggeration, it resists. But when a sentence feels emotionally reachable, even if it stretches you slightly, the system cooperates. Flow requires cooperation, not domination. The sentence that opens the flow often acknowledges support rather than outcome. Instead of focusing on what you want, it focuses on how you are being held. When you feel supported, outcomes take care of themselves. Support is the foundation. Results are the expression. Flow is not something you chase. It is something you remember. It is the natural state you return to when you stop interfering. A sentence that opens the flow reminds you of that state. It brings you back to alignment with life instead of positioning you against it. This is why the most effective sentences feel grounding. They slow the breath. They quiet the mind. They restore a sense of inner balance. From that place, actions become effortless and timing becomes precise. When you speak a sentence that opens the flow, you are not asking for permission. You are giving yourself permission to stop resisting. That shift is subtle, but profound. It moves you from effort to allowance. Flow also requires trust. Trust that you do not need to manage every detail. Trust that life has intelligence beyond your planning. The right sentence gently hands responsibility back to that intelligence. It says, I don't need to know how. I only need to be open. As you practice choosing sentences that feel supportive rather than demanding, your relationship with life changes. You stop negotiating with the universe. You stop proving your worth. You start cooperating. And cooperation creates momentum. The sentence that opens the flow often sounds simple, almost ordinary. That simplicity is its strength. It bypasses drama and speaks directly to the nervous system. When the nervous system feels safe, flow is inevitable. Once flow is open, things move naturally. Ideas come at the right time. People appear unexpectedly. Solutions arise without strain. You are not pushing life forward. You are moving with it. Flow does not mean everything happens instantly. It means everything happens smoothly. Without resistance, delays lose their emotional charge. You remain centered, even when things are unfolding. That steadiness keeps the flow open. The sentence that opens the flow is one you can feel in your body. It creates space. It creates ease. It creates trust. When you speak it and allow it to settle, something inside shifts, and that shift is what life responds to. Flow is not created by effort. It is revealed by surrender. And the right sentence, spoken with acceptance, is often all it takes to step back into the current that has been waiting for you all along.